Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 224, Raw Milk, Risks and Realities. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Real World Nutrition. I am Shelly Rael, registered dietitian nutritionist. And of course, as I said already, today we're going to talk raw milk. Now, raw milk has been getting a lot of attention lately. And if you haven't noticed this or aren't on social media, you may not be aware of it. But social media, wellness influencers, and even some public figures have been promoting raw milk as a more natural or superior alternative to pasteurized milk. And they use words like traditional, ancestral, and nutrient dense. They use these terms quite a bit. So in this episode, I want to talk about separating the marketing and the mythology of raw milk from the actual science and public health data. Now, raw milk is not a new product. It's simply milk that has not been pasteurized, meaning it has not been heated to a specific temperature for a specific amount of time to kill harmful bacteria. Raw milk has been around forever, really, and in some segments of the population, people have accessed this for quite a while. It's just in some places it was illegal for quite some time, so people would get it on the down low, so to speak. What is new here is this resurgence of claims that raw milk offers meaningful health benefits and that pasteurization somehow ruins milk, ruins the nutrition and all kinds of things in milk. So today, my goal is to talk clearly about what raw milk is, why it is restricted or illegal in many places, though that is changing regularly, what the evidence actually says about the risks and potential benefits, and how this compares to pasteurized milk. So I just want to make this clear. I want to present facts. I may have some bias that comes through because I do have one. I will admit that up front. But I don't want to scare people. I want to, again, state facts. And it's not a moral judgment. It's risk, reality, and informed decision-making. So, what is raw milk and why is it traditionally restricted? So, it may seem obvious here, but raw milk is milk from cows, goats, or other dairy animals that has not gone through pasteurization. Now, pasteurization was introduced because milk in its ideal growth medium is an ideal growth medium, I should say. It is just a great place for bacteria to thrive. It's warm, it's moist, it's got a nutrient-rich environment that allows pathogens to thrive, especially when animals, equipment, or handling conditions are less than ideal. Now, in the United States, currently, interstate sale of raw milk for human consumption is prohibited by federal law. Individual states determine whether intrastate sales are allowed, restricted, or banned entirely. And the reason for this patchwork approach is not politics or conspiracy, it's public health. So again, to clarify, it is federal law that we cannot sell raw milk across state lines. So if you're, let's say, in, South Carolina, you can't technically be selling milk to people in North Carolina or Georgia. But you can sell within your own state if your state allows it. So just want to make that clear here. Now, before pasteurization became standard, milk was a major source of foodborne illness, especially in children. Now, I do want to say, before a lot of things, foodborne illness was a big issue, including in water supply and our food supply. But when we're talking about milk, diseases such as tuberculosis, brucellosis, and typhoid fever were commonly transmitted through milk. And pasteurization dramatically reduced these illnesses and is considered one of our major public health advances of the last century. Public health advancements in the last 100 years are just wide spread and have done wonders in helping reduce our risk of disease and death. Now, why is raw milk getting such a big spotlight right now among a certain segment of the population? Well, there's these alleged benefits that they talk about, but those claims don't hold up. So here we go. Advocates of raw milk often claim that it contains beneficial enzymes, probiotics, or nutrients that are destroyed during pasteurization. Others will suggest that it improves digestion, boosts immunity, or reduces allergies. They swear by it. And these claims sound compelling, but they are not supported by credible evidence. So an individual who has purported benefits doesn't mean it's good for the entire population. And major public health agencies, major public health agencies, including the CDC, the FDA, and the World Health Organization, so not just within the United States, consistently report that raw milk does not provide meaningful nutrition advantages over pasteurized milk. The core nutrients people drink milk for, including protein, calcium, potassium, and vitamin D when it's fortified, remain intact after pasteurization. So some people will say, oh gosh, I can't remember what it is, that this particular nutrient is destroyed when milk is pasteurized. And that may be true, but milk is not a major source of that particular nutrient that also happens to be destroyed or damaged. Enzymes that may be present in raw milk aren't required for us as humans to digest things. Many are broken down by the stomach acid anyway. Our stomach is designed to be very acidic and break things down in conjunction with enzymes that we make ourselves. So enzymes in milk are kind of pointless to us as humans. And as for beneficial bacteria, raw milk is just as likely to contain harmful bacteria more than anything that would be potentially helpful. So yes, we do have beneficial bacteria in some foods, like yogurt. But raw milk isn't one of those things that would provide meaningful benefit comparing it to the harmful bacteria. And there's just no reliable way to separate the two when we're talking about raw milk. So you get the whole kit and caboodle of bacteria when you're having raw milk. You can't pick and choose what you're going to get because there's really no way to do that. So let me talk about what pasteurized milk is and what standards it meets to be pasteurized. So pasteurized milk is heated to a very precise temperature for a precise amount of time to kill pathogens while preserving nutritional quality. So in the United States, beverage milk, or the milk that we drink for humans, must meet federal standards outlined in regulations, including 21 CFR Part 131 and Grade A Pasteurized Milk Ordinance, or PMO. Now, if you're so inclined, I'll tell you later how to get a hold of those links to what I just said. So it's just links to the federal regulations. These standards define what legally can be sold as milk, from whole milk to fat-free milk and all those in between, including what defines minimum milk fat, what defines the solids non-fat requirement. So basically, we buy 2% milk, and if you don't think about it, you just buy 2% milk. But there's a lot of regulation that goes on behind the scenes there. And there's also a mandate for fortification with vitamins A and D for pretty much all fluid milks in the United States. And I'm talking animal milks. Now, vitamins A and D are added intentionally to help address common nutrient gaps in the population. This has been done for probably most of your lifetime, or not, if not your entire lifetime. Now, pasteurization is the heating process. Louis Pasteur came up with it, pasteurization. Now, homogenization is a separate process, and what that does is it breaks down fat globules. So cream doesn't separate. So the fact that we have milk with fat in it, but we don't see the separation, that's homogenizations. So homogenization affects affects texture, but it doesn't affect our safety. Pasteurization is the process that reduces the risk. So pretty much when you're buying milk at the grocery store, you're getting both homogenized and pasteurized milk, but some people mix the two up. So raw milk plus home boiling. So some people suggest buying raw milk and then boiling at home to kill bacteria while preserving nutrients. Now, it seems, at least in my opinion, that sounds so ridiculous. You're buying raw milk, but then boiling it is the argument that you're not buying pasteurized milk because the heat destroys things. So it's one of these things where I don't know if people realize what they're saying. And this idea of boiling raw milk misunderstands both food safety and nutrition. So I want to make this clear though. Home boiling is not pasteurization. Pasteurization uses tightly controlled temperatures and time combinations with specialized equipment to ensure pathogens are destroyed while minimizing nutrient loss. Boiling milk at home has no such consistency. None. And when I'm talking about like the pasteurization, tightly controlled temperatures, it's a very precise temperature for a very precise time, and we're talking seconds and far below boiling point. That's pasteurized milk. So at sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Standard high temperature short time pasteurization uses temperatures, as I said, a fraction of a second if it is at 212. Boiling milk at home will almost always expose it to a higher heat for longer periods. Consider this. Remember I said 212 degrees for a fraction of a second. By the time you realize that your milk is boiling on the stove, it's already been more than a fraction of a second. So this would actually degrade heat-sensitive nutrients more than the commercial pasteurization. So in short, a long way of saying, boiling raw milk at home does remove the supposed benefits of the raw milk what raw milk allegedly has, while retaining none of the regulatory protections. So if people are going to buy raw milk and then boil it, I think it sounds like they're just being rebellious about it when they're actually doing more damage to the nutrients than helping it. So I want to talk about some legal oversight and the safety differences here. Pasteurized milk sold for beverage use, so what we drink or use on our cereal or whatever, it's subject to routine inspection, bacterial testing, antibiotic residue checks, strict handling requirements. These standards exist to protect consumers and are enforced consistently. I have visited a dairy farm where I have seen how the cows get milked. It is a very, very sterile environment. And you may think, wow, a cow in a sterile environment? Well, yeah, when the cow walks into the carousel on her own, she's cleaned off very specifically before the equipment is attached to her. So it is very much a standard procedure that helps minimize those risks of bacteria. And it's tested constantly. Now, raw milk, where it is legal or where people are doing it underground, doesn't operate under the same uniform oversight. They may do this. They may voluntarily follow best practices and may voluntarily follow testing, sanitation, and fortification requirements, but they do not have to. And fortification is not an easy thing to do. So it's just one of those things where, yeah, you may have a good supplier, but you never know what you're going to get if you're not sure, if you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That inconsistency of raw milk and how it is having the so-called best practices, if at all, is a major reason why raw milk has significantly higher risks, safety risks. So I want to talk about the risk versus the claimed benefits of raw milk. The risks of raw milk are well documented. It is far more likely to be contaminated with pathogens such as E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, Campylobacter, and Brucella. Research shows that people who consume unpasteurized dairy are hundreds of times more likely to experience foodborne illness than those who consume pasteurized dairy. And then who is at high risk? Children, pregnant individuals, older adults, anyone with a compromised immune system are at particular high risk. For these groups, infections can lead to hospitalization, miscarriage, long-term complications, and even death. And in the last few months, I've seen cases of individuals who have miscarried and had a child die, allegedly from the raw milk. So I can't say it was definitely from the raw milk, but that was what it was reported because that person was suing the raw milk supplier. So the claimed benefits do not outweigh these risks. You may drink it and be totally fine. But studies show there's not a significant nutrient advantage, there's not improved immunity or digestive benefits that justifies the increased danger or increased risk. So there might be improved immunity, but at the same time, you might just be sick for several days and if not weeks. And what's the benefit there? You just mess with your gut microbiome by doing that. Now, what's the risk versus benefits or claimed benefits of pasteurized milk? Well, pasteurized milk provides high quality protein. It provides calcium. It provides potassium. People don't think about that part. Vitamin D, when it's fortified, and again, it's required in the United States to be fortified, all within a strong safety framework. So high quality protein, potassium, vitamin D, and then the calcium everybody thinks of with safety. The risk of illness is very low when our milk is properly handled and stored. So don't leave it on the counter and then drink it after 6 hours. That's different. So like any perishable food, milk does need to be refrigerated, and we need to pay attention to those dates on the label. Even if the date on the label is in the future, but you've had the milk opened for about 5 days, unless it's been ultra heat treated, you might start noticing it starts souring. Pasteurization reduces the risk of us getting sick when we take care of our milk in the refrigerator. So it doesn't eliminate the need for us to follow basics, I can't even say this, basic food safety practices. We still have to be responsible consumers in our own home. So the bottom line is here, the ambiguity here is non-existent. Raw milk carries real and preventable risks. The benefits that are claimed are overstated and poorly supported. The dangers of raw milk are well documented and serious, especially for vulnerable populations. Now, I want to make this clear. You are free to make your own choices. People are free to make their own choices. And those choices should be based on accurate information, not marketing language, social media trends, hype, or celebrities or pseudo-celebrities who claim, I drink raw milk and I'm fine. Pasteurized milk exists because it works and it protects public health without sacrificing nutritional value. As a full-grown adult as well, you are allowed to make your own health choices. You're allowed to make your own choices. And as a parent, you're allowed to make your choices too. But why risk giving your child raw milk when it can make them terribly sick or contribute to death? If milk is part of the diet, pasteurized milk is the safer and smarter choice. And with that, I will mention I wrote a blog on this, and I will link that in the show notes as I do. And within that blog is the links to those additional, the federal requirements for pasteurized milk. So you can look in that link, where you see the different temperatures and the time that's needed to pasteurize milk or kill off those pathogens that are in milk. All right. With that, yes, I said I was going to try to remain neutral, and at the end, obviously, I wasn't. I'm very passionate about this, that if food is potentially going to kill somebody, why not have it taken care of so it will reduce that risk? All right. With that, you have a great week. Let me know what you thought about this. You can always email me or message me with the link in the show notes. And you take care, and bye for now.